So you're planning the trip, you're trying to decide what to take. Trust me, you'll have regrets. How can you not? I just wanted to talk today about, I came up with 6 regrets that I have come to appreciate in the last 6 years of traveling here in the tiny trailer. Because even though we all do our best, if I could go back in time, this is what I would do. My name is Jill. This is Jill's Nomad Survival. See you on the other side. I ruined that table because I had it covered and it got wet. But the rain's coming, which is why everything's covered. So yesterday I actually did quite a bit. There was an incident, but I'm not going to talk about that. And what I'm trying to do is to first get everything that I have scattered. I think I'm in 3 or 4 different places. I've been here for too many years. I've spread out everywhere. So I'm trying to consolidate everything in that trailer and this trailer, sort it, break it down for when it's time to get moving. So in doing that yesterday, I thought I would talk about some of the things that I've regretted in terms of my process for making decisions. There have been many. But the first one, which I didn't know better, but I will throw it out at you because it was huge in how it determined what I brought with me, is I packed to move. I did not pack to travel. And so I brought a lot of stuff with me, even though I knew there wasn't room for it, because in my mind I was going to do this for a year, then I was going to get a house or apartment or something and start a brand new life. So I've been lugging so much stuff with me that's in the move category, and I haven't been willing to let it go because I wasn't sure what my plan was. Now I have the horse trailer. I know pretty much what my plan is, and so it's easier for me to move forward. But that's a big one. I moved to move, not to travel, in terms of making my stuff decision, which piggybacks on what I just said. Way too much stuff. There's a lot of things that drove me to that decision or that process, and the reality is it took me about 1.5 years to downsize. It is an exhausting process. You have no idea if you haven't done it trying to downsize at the time, 47 years of life into a tiny it's an 18-foot trailer. Technically, there's 15 feet of living space, but it's actually a lot smaller than that on the inside. So that's a big thing to do. And I would say easily I gave away, 95% of my stuff. So that's hard. If you've never done it, you have no idea how difficult it is. So never beat yourself up about the difficulty of the process. But I'm going to tell you the next regret that piggybacks on the too much stuff. Once it comes into the trailer, it is infinitely harder to get it out. And that's just, I won't even let some people send me pieces of paper because once it comes in, it's very difficult to get it out. Much easier to just not have it in the first place. The flip side to that is some of the fears, but I'll get to that in just a moment. The other big regret that I had, which really technically wasn't my fault because I didn't have enough time. The house was getting foreclosed on, and so I was under a deadline to get everything out, whether I was ready or not. And there had been some snow and some other setbacks in terms of getting that trailer done. But the sorting it out, if I had to do it over again in a perfect world, I would have lived, even if it was on my parking deck in the mountains, I would have lived in the trailer with almost nothing so that I could just bring in what I needed versus trying to imagine what I needed, which resulted in a lot of stuff, a lot of scenarios, a lot of problem solving that I didn't learn until later. But again, once it comes in, it's way harder to get it out. And the last thing I really want to talk about was I let fear drive a lot of my decision-making process. And if you're, in a position like I was where you were losing everything, there's so much uncertainty and it's just scary, and I didn't have a future and I didn't really have much of a plan beyond the first year. And so that was overwhelming all by itself. But part of the fears that drove me was, if I get rid of it, what happens if I need it? What if I can't afford to buy it? But more importantly, what if it's not available? Because we've been living under this cloud of, the world ending as we know it for quite some time now. And so there's that constant kind of fear, at least for me, what if I let go of something that I can't replace, that I actually really need. Now, my experience has been, for the most part, I have been able to find or buy or magically stumble across, like my 3-hole punch the other day. Stuff has come to me, and that hasn't been a problem. But the fear really drove those decisions. Still does in a lot of ways, because we're still living under the cloud of uncertainty. But I'm going forward. My goal is to really step away from that fear and do it in a different way. And my philosophy now, as I move forward, is always lighter, less, lighter, less, lighter, less. And how I can do that a little bit more easily now is because, honestly, I have a lot more experience. I have a clearer vision of where I want the future to go. It's very difficult when you're in a very uncertain place. I know what kind of climate I want to live in. I know what kind of work I want to do, what kind of terrain I want to be involved with. So those are all really important decisions, because they drive your clothing, they drive your shoes, they drive how you're going to cook, what you're heating and cooling. Did I mention the other day I have 6 heaters? I'm going to talk about that someday. Just sorting all this stuff out has been pretty much a long-term process. So as much as I will say I have regrets, I'm going to leave you with, don't worry about it. It will sort itself out. Everything will be okay. If you are planning on taking an adventure, whether it's an RV, a van, a backpack, a trailer, a horse trailer, or whatever it is, don't worry about it. It'll work itself out. And don't be surprised if it's harder than you think. That's just a little bit of honesty. So I want to say thank you for spending this time with me. And before we go, I'm going to say take one more deep breath for the road as we hope to rise with the sun in our eyes. Not today, it's all cloudy. Love in our heart, feet strongly on the ground as we walk together on Survival Road, one day at a time. Live free, die wild, my friend, and we'll see you next time.